Over the last couple of days, the MAGA influencer sphere out there is having a really hard time. You see, over the last 4 years or so under Joe Biden, they were screaming and yelling and calling Joe Biden a warmonger. They called Kamala Harris a warmonger. It's all about they're the libs, the Dems, man. They just love to get into war, and we, the Republicans, we're the party of peace, man. We don't do any of that kind of stuff. So you got MAGA influencers like Charlie Kirk and Laura Loomer and Steve Bannon and Mike Cernovich and Tommy Lauren and all those types. They're out there, talking about how Joe Biden was the president of war and Donald Trump is the president of peace. And all of a sudden, in the last couple of days, because we decided to, drop a shit metric fuck ton of bombs on Iran, now all of a sudden, watching them turn is just, it's amazing. And if you are watching these people, if you are, you're following them on Twitter or, on Instagram, or you watch them on the YouTubes, and you've been hearing them say for years and years about Donald Trump being a president of peace and he would never get in Iran. And they specifically talked about Iran, how Donald Trump would never do that. And I believe I played for you a clip of Donald Trump during Barack Obama's presidency back in 2015 when he was trying to do that Iranian nuke deal, the JCPOA. Donald Trump came out there and he goes, yeah, Barack Obama, he's going to start a war with Iran because he doesn't want to leave office. Every accusation is a goddamn confession. Here we are, Donald Trump, starting a war with Iran. And by the way, Donald Trump in 2021, January 6th, tried to stay in office. Every accusation is a goddamn confession. Like, every word that comes out of their mouth is just sheer fucking projection. Anyway, so like I said, the MAGA influencer sphere is having an issue. They're having a problem. And what were we looking at here? NBC News. Jonathan Allen. The MAGA movement's top influencers were divided over the bombing of Iran until President Donald Trump did just that Saturday night. Now, at least for the time being, the lay leaders in the president's base appear to be rallying around a position that spares Trump criticism. Direct attacks on Iran's nuclear facilities are justified. That's not war. Come on, man. Just dropping bombs, man. They're peace bombs. As long as the American troops aren't sent into a third full war halfway around the world in the last quarter of a century. Now, look, remember Wesley Clark? He was a general, and he came out after the Iraq War. Actually, I think he came out before the Iraq War started in 2003, and he kind of gave the skinny. He let everybody know that what they wanted to do was Iraq first, then Syria, and then the mother of all of them was Iran. And not we as in you and I, but we as the American leadership, we turned Iraq and Afghanistan into such a fucking cocked hat and a quagmire that everybody lost their taste for war in the Middle East. Honestly, I mean, it should have happened a hell of a lot sooner than it did. But, when Wesley Clark kind of laid that whole timeline out, here we are towards the finish of it. Now they want to get Iran, and Donald Trump is talking about regime change right fucking now. So, and that is not a weekend excursion, folks. That's not going to happen over a couple of day period. That is a intensive, full-on, boots on the ground kind of thing. And by the way, the guys that are right now saying, well, this is just a bombing, it's not a big deal, just as long as there's no boots on the ground. Honey, we got military surrounding that entire country, man. It wouldn't take very long for military boots to be on the ground in Iran, in a quick. And you think that these guys are going to go, okay, Mr. President, you've gone too far, those are boots on the ground, or do you think they're going to get back there and coddle his nuts? They're going to give him a nice shiatsu massage and a rub down. They are, of course, going to get behind him. Anyway, people don't want an escalation where ground troops are sent in. But this is not Iraq, said Randy Girdusky, a Republican consultant who worked for a super PAC that backed Vice President J.D. Vance's 2022 Senate campaign. I guess he got all that money from Peter Thiel, because that's who donated the lion's share of money to J.D. Vance in that Senate race. Girdusky predicted that the MAGA base will swing in line behind Trump. Yeah, I think so. There's a little appetite at the White House or anywhere else in Washington for a ground invasion of Iran, mountainous country in the Middle East that would be extraordinarily difficult to conquer in a conventional war. But it's hardly unusual for the state of hostilities. The airstrikes on 3 Iranian nuclear enrichment facilities were the first direct American intervention in a week-old war between Israel and Iran to create a rally around the flag effect within the president's party. By the way, do you think that bombing Iran is going to not cause a rally around their flag effect? I mean, you got Carolyn Levitt out there going, well, this is the time for the Iranian people to rise up against their dictatorial leaders and overthrow them. You think bombing them is going to help? Jesus Christ. Heavy smear campaign going on right now, attacking America First patriots as isolationists. Jack Posobiec, the leading voice. Jack Posobiec is a fucking moron. A leading voice in the MAGA movement, protested earlier Saturday before the bombings. I hope everyone using this bad persuasion knows that it associate them with the worst of Bush-era neocons, slang for the so-called neoconservative George Bush administration officials who pushed for the Iraq War. Posobiec had previously warned that direct attacks on Iran would disastrously split the Trump coalition. But after the airstrikes, he posted what looked like a sentiment of approval. The president has clearly signaled, as he has all along, that he opposes a regime change war in Iran. By the way, this is going to be the new thing. You're going to hear all of these MAGA influencers out there. They're all going to be saying, oh, Trump has always wanted to make sure that Iran didn't get a nuclear weapon. And he's always wanted the regime change in Iran. Although you never hear him say it. He never said it on the goddamn campaign trail. But now it's going to be every day. They're going to be beating you over the fucking head with it. That Trump, He wants regime change. He's always wanted regime change. What are you talking about? He's always said this. He came out of the womb saying this shit. Posobiec was hardly alone among anti-interventionist MAGA figures in holding off on criticism of Donald Trump after what he described as a highly successful mission that completely and totally obliterated Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons. Yeah, man, horseshit. Steve Bannon, another one of his boys, he's already, turned. He's got a show called The War Room. A top advisor to Donald Trump's first White House and a host of the War Room podcast made it clear in a special broadcast Saturday night that he would have preferred for Israel to take the lead in striking Iran's nuclear facilities, but he stopped short of condemning Trump because, of course, he's got to coddle those nuts. For sending U.S. forces to do the job. Instead, he gave a voice to the doubts some MAGA voters would have about the mission. A big question is going to be why Israel did not take the lead and do this. Well, because they're in cahoots, man. You know this. Steve Bannon is a huge anti-war, he says he's anti-war kind of guy. And, he's always talking about all of the bad things that are happening with the deep state. By the way, if there was a fucking deep state, man, they would have taken out Donald Trump a long ass time ago. Obviously, there's no fucking deep state, dumbass shit. But Steve Bannon will always stop short of going after Donald Trump. He will criticize the shit out of anybody he hires. He will criticize the hell out of anything that, that Donald Trump does, except for the man himself. He will not criticize Donald Trump because he wants to get back in the good graces of Donald Trump. All of these guys do. Whether you're Alex Jones or Steve Bannon, they all want to kiss that fucking onion ring, man. but ultimately concluded, well, hold on. The big question is going to be why Israel did not take the lead, because right now this is back to the United States. Why are we engaging in combat operations and war? That's a war of choice. Yeah, it is. But he ultimately concluded that Trump would bring MAGA movement to his own position, and this is true. Right now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, like 86% of Democrats are completely against this. And if you ask, like the American public, Republican, Democrat, Independent alike, if you ask them, do you want to get in a war with Iran? Like 95% said no. But if you ask them, should Iran have a nuclear weapon and should Donald Trump try to stop them or drop a bomb on them? Democrats are all like, no, stop doing that shit. But Republicans, 70% are like, oh yeah, I think that's fine. Do you think that they're not going to fall in line behind him? I believe he will get MAGA on board for all of it, but he's got to explain exactly and go through this. Up to the lead up to the Iraq War in 2003, there was like a year and a half of propaganda that led up to it. You know, it took him a year and a half to make, you know, Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein the same guy. Now they have been trained, you know, whether you watch OAN or Newsmax or Fox News, they've all been trained. And there's little shortcut languages, and you know, you throw a couple of Islamic words like jihad and mullahs and Muslims, and immediately Republicans' hackles go up. That's all it takes. The propaganda has already been laid out there. Let me see. An hour after Trump addressed the nation from the White House, Tucker Carlson, by the way, I did a clip on Tucker Carlson last week when he and Ted Cruz got into it. And Tucker Carlson, for like a 5-minute period, was actually acting like a reporter and asking Ted Cruz hard questions, because Ted Cruz is a Warhawk motherfucker. Him and Lindsey Graham and all those guys, they've been dying, they've been itching, their nipples are so hard for war with Iran. And Tucker Carlson kind of held his feet to the fire for about 5 minutes, and then immediately after it went out, that podcast went out, he called up Donald Trump and apologized to him, because they're all bitches, man. They're all such bitches. I mean, after Donald Trump lost the election in 2020, there are tweets and voicemails from Tucker Carlson going, I cannot wait to be done with Donald Trump. He is the destroyer of worlds. I hate him. But yet he knows who the dear leader is. They call, the Ayatollah in Iran the dear leader. Honey, we got a dear leader here. Give me a break. An hour after Donald Trump addressed the nation, Tucker Carlson, the most prominent anti-strike Trump ally, had said nothing to his 16.4 million followers on Twitter. But Charlie Kirk, a co-founder of Turning Point USA, a pro-Trump coalition of younger conservatives, yeah, man, Charlie Kirk, who goes to colleges and tries to recruit 18 and 19-year-olds into, coming into the fold of conservative thinking. After years of saying Donald Trump is a peace president and he would never go against, he'd never go to war with Iran, and, that's a Democratic thing, and Donald Trump, he's a smart guy, and, he would never do this. And then after the bombing, he's like, America stands with the president. Trust the president. Jesus Christ. While Democrats push back on Donald Trump over both the wisdom of the strikes and the constitutionality of attacking another sovereign country without either congressional authorization or imminent threat to the United States. Yeah, they didn't fire on us. Most Republicans voiced approval or met the decision with silence. Thomas Massey, who is the only Republican, because he's a libertarian, who had been working with Rep. Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, on a measure to design to prohibit Trump from using the authorization of military force against Iran. He says this is not constitutional. And of course, Charlie Kirk and the like, they all jumped on board saying, you're not MAGA. You're not MAGA. Nobody's MAGA. Hey, and by the way, I am seeing a large contingent of these, online Republican influencers. They're all saying exactly the same thing. Like they got talking points from on high where they're all saying essentially this. If you are MAGA and you are not supporting Trump right now, then you've never been MAGA and you should just become a Democrat or something. I mean, so many of them said exactly the same thing. Charlie Kirk, Laura Loomer, all the dipshits on Twitter, from DC Drano, MAGA Voice, they're dropping bombs for peace. Dropping bombs for peace. Yeah, man, that makes sense. That's like fucking for virginity. You got that guy, I think his name is Scott Jennings on CNN. He goes, this isn't an escalation. This is a de-escalation. Those are de-escalation bombs. Steve Bannon, Steve Bannon's idea is that, he's screaming and yelling about, well, we shouldn't go to war. We shouldn't go to war. We shouldn't bomb Iran. We shouldn't have boots on the ground. And then as soon as it happens, he goes, well, Donald Trump must have some intel. We don't. So, he's the dear leader. What are you going to do? Yet again, I think that was Mike Cernovich, one of the guys that says, if you're against Trump and what he's done, then you've never been MAGA. What was that? Alex Jones, he put out a video saying, war's bad, war's bad, war's bad. But Donald Trump did it, so it's good. And that he's fighting against the deep state. And then I saw a clip on Fox News. I think it was on Sunday. I can't remember who it was, but they're like, every dictator should be on notice right now because Donald Trump is out to get them. We fund 3/4 of the dictators on the planet. We either fund them with money or fund them with weapons. We love a dictator. As long as that dictator is working for us, we love him. We have overthrown so many democratic leaders all over the country, whether it's in Central America, South America, the Middle East. We overthrow a democratically elected leader like Mossadegh in Iran in 1953. When we sent the CIA in to assassinate him and overthrow him. And then we put the Shah back into power. And then he rules that country with an iron fist for 25 years. And then those people decide enough is enough and they rise up against him. And of course they go the fundamentalist, the Muslim fundamentalist route, which did not work out very well for them because fundamentalism in any of its forms is bad. But yet, they overthrew the Shah. And now here we are again, doing the same goddamn thing again. Anyway, let me see, what else we got here? This is Charlie Kirk on his show, The Real America's Voice, Charlie Kirk. He's him and his co-host, they are reading some of the from some of the tweets from their own audience. So most people that watch Charlie Kirk are Republicans. I would say the majority of them are. And they're fielding some online questions that they're getting. So this is kind of fun.
A lot of these are from YouTube. I'll thank you. Blackest Panther says this is the same excuse they used to get us to invade Iraq. It's a reasonable argument. I think it's a little different. The nuclear program is at least real. 100%.
Yeah, man. Okay, sure. That they've got, it's literally the same fucking story. What are you talking about? They have weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction. That was the whole lead up to it. And here we are again doing it. I think it's a little bit different, you know. I mean, you know, it's a different country. They spell it different. I mean, one of them's got an N at the end and one has got a Q at the end. So it's completely different. What are you talking about?
No one disputes it is real.
The weapons of mass destruction were...
It is clearly... I mean, even Iran is like, we got the uranium out. Not a thing with Iraq. So we should at least acknowledge that.
And can I make one other differentiation? Like President Trump has said no ground troops. Iraq was a purely ground, like a majorly ground troop.
And so far that hasn't happened, and we would definitely all oppose that. ASFX donated $10. He says, I thank God that...
They would all oppose it until he does it, and then they will rally around the leader yet again. Guarantee you. Mark my words. When boots get on the ground, American boots get on the ground in Iran, both of these yahoos and all the rest of them, the Cernovich, the Posobiacs, the Charlie Kirks, they will all jump on board the MAGA train. Every last one of them.
Trump is supportive of the idea that people who chant death to America should not have nukes. Thank you for that. Let's see. Ricky, thank you for $5. I can't read yours because you have a swear word in it, and this is a family-friendly broadcast.
Yeah, man, they seem so family-friendly over there. They got their little American flags, and they're the real America's voice, and we would never, ever, ever use a foul word or a cuss word. Oh, my God. That would be just terrible. Now, dropping bombs, that's awesome.
Debbie, thank you for $10. Mad Max, somewhere in the whatever location you believe he is right now, John McCain's ghost is laughing because Trump chose Israel first. That is a take we're going to see. I think Trump is choosing America first. You can argue about what America first amounts to, but I think it's unfair to say he's just like doing someone else's bidding.
Do you really? Do you really think? Oh, God, Jesus Christ, man. Either they're lying to you or they have brainwashed themselves.
Burton just gave us $20. Thank you very much for that, Vicky. And it's extremely difficult to scroll through YouTube, so I can't actually get to all of these.
Yeah, I bet.
Overkill, thank you for $2. He says Trump is the one who ripped up the nuclear deal. That's another perspective.
I mean, come on, man. He's having a hard time getting through all of the all of the comments on YouTube because they're all saying the same thing. You're full of shit. You are absolutely full of shit. Trump did tear up the nuclear deal. Oh, my God, man. Oh, this is a little bit of Charlie Kirk. Back not too very long ago, on June 17th, Charlie Kirk says 60% of Americans don't want America involved with a war in Iran. And then now, America stands with the president. These guys are absolutely full of shit. They are full on MAGA. They're full audience capture. They're not going to turn against Donald Trump. They do everything they can to defend him, and then Donald Trump throws a monkey in the wrench because he is a crazy man. He's a wild man. I mean, I think that we should be invoking the 25th Amendment and getting that lunatic out before he literally does start World War III. I mean, Russia has already sent overtures that they will support Iran, and China has too. So we got the United States, Israel, Iran, Russia, China. When Europe decides to jump into the fray, is that when we're going to call it World War III? I mean, personally, we have been warring. The United States, out of its 250 years of existence, has been warring for about 230 of them. We are a warlike nation, man. We be loving to go to war and to drop some bombs. We love that shit. This is America, man. We love burgers and bombs. But when you've got Russia and China already saying, hey, we're not digging this. We might have to help these boys out a little bit. Iran. Look, Iran has already started to do a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. More oil goes through that strait than anywhere else on earth. Oh, you were concerned about your gas prices before. Donald Trump already put out a tweet saying, you better not raise those gas prices or it's going to be very anti-American. Yeah, man, that's how business works, man. That's how Exxon does their business. Donald Trump says they're not to raise our oil prices. Yeah, man, I'll take that under advisement. This just shutting down that strait for a very small window of time is going to increase the price of a barrel of crude oil to $150 a barrel, man. You thought that gas prices were high under Biden? Oh, Jesus Christ, man. You got no fucking clue. No clue. Jesus, man. Oh, by the way, Donald Trump, earlier, before I started the show, he put out a fake ceasefire announcement where he says something like, congrats to Israel and congrats to Iran on a ceasefire. Iran is going to stop shooting, and then Israel is going to have like another 6 hours to shoot their weapons, and then they're going to call it quits and it's going to be over with. And, I'm hearing from the Ayatollah, he's like, we ain't doing none of that shit. And of course, Trump and Vance and them are going, well, it would be a bad idea if they shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That's their leverage. That's their power. You think that they're not going to use their leverage? Give me a fucking break. Jesus Christ. Donald Trump, I swear, I think he read Oprah Winfrey's The Secret, and he's trying to wish this into existence. Wish this ceasefire, bomb, then peace. I bomb for peace. That's like walking into a bar, punching somebody in the mouth, and then that guy fucking knuckles up and is about to throw down and be like, yo, man, this is the time for peace. That's not how it works. When's the last time you punched somebody in the face and told them it's time for peace? That's not how it works. But that's the American way. And this is Donald Trump going, congrats, folks. It's all over. I've talked to them all. And, Netanyahu's like, I do not care what he says. I'm going to continue bombing. And the Ayatollah's like, what are you talking about? Ain't nobody contacted me about a ceasefire. Give me a break. Anyway, just watching all of these MAGA influencers just, twist themselves into pretzels, trying to defend an action that they have been condemning for 4 years is fucking chef's kiss. Anyway, I am sure we will be seeing more of this bootlicking, ass kissing, shit from the Charlie Kirks out there and the Steve Bannons and the Laura Loomers. They are, I trust the dear leader. I trust our president. I know we said no war and Donald Trump is not going to be doing any war, but when he does war, it's not war because bombs are not war. Bombs are strikes. And then, only when military boots are on the ground. Oh, well, that's not war either because, those are patriot boots and those are freedom boots. And anybody that says anything different, they're the warmongers. We're the peace people. We're doing peace through strength because that's how it works. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.